What's going on, guys? Aco here, and today we're talking about how to properly use the record command feature in training mode. We've been wanting to make this video for a while because not only is the record command a little bit more complicated in this game than it is in other fighting games, but also I just get a lot of questions about how does it work and tips for how to use it well, while at the same time just wanting to generally raise awareness of just what a great tool record command is. In my opinion, record command is the single greatest tool you have at your disposal for getting better. If you have even the slightest intention of improving at this game, record command is your best friend by far, and I will go ahead and show you why. Let's get right on into it. So to start with, let's break down how to actually record things in the first place and what are the optimal settings for recording. So go ahead and open up your menu, go into Training Dummy Recording Settings. Here are the slots. You have up to 8 slots that you can record. Recording method, this is the most important thing. You want to make sure that this is set to quick. Quick is the optimal way to use recording. It basically makes it to where the system will begin recording immediately as you press a button. This is superior to normal because normal starts recording as soon as you press the record button, which makes it difficult to record anything in a frame tight way, which is what you need your recordings to be. By putting it on quick, it makes sure that everything you do is frame tight so that you can actually optimize your recordings as much as you can. So that's the most important thing. Make sure it is set to quick. Playback method, we'll get into this later in the more advanced section, but this decides how your playback is. You can leave it normal for now. And then automatic, this is a good feature for certain situations. This is for if you want to test round start options. By putting it to play, whatever you record will automatically play as soon as you position reset. However, it's not very accurate, so I wouldn't recommend using this. And then the slots, again, you have up to 8 slots, and the number here is how often they will play. So I would recommend, personally, I would recommend setting them all to 0, and then any recording that you want to use, set it to 1. So now that we understand how to make a recording, let's go ahead and get into our first simple example of a simple recording. For the first example, let's choose something that is a common situation that is very easy to replicate. Now again, we are going to record this on slot 1, so make sure that slot 1 is set to 1. So in choosing a situation to record, it should always be something from one of your matches that has been giving you trouble lately. Something that's either giving you trouble or a situation that you just don't like. For this example, let's say that lately you've been having a lot of trouble with Gogeta Blue. Let's say lately, every time you try to fight Gogeta Blue players, you're constantly getting hit by Reflect 2M, and you're tired of it. And rather than just, hoping for the best or ignoring the problem or just fighting through it, you decide that you're going to take it to training mode. So what's the best way to go about emulating this? So once you have the situation in mind that you want to record, you're simply going to hit the record button, and then as soon as you press anything, it's going to start recording. So since the situation that we want is a reflect into a 2M, we are going to set that up. My advice, always put a neutral jump first. You want to do a neutral jump, that way when you play it back, it gives you plenty of time to get into position. So we're going to do neutral jump, reflect, 2M, 5H, all in one go, and make sure that you do it as accurately as possible. You don't want the 2M to be too late. You want this to be a good recording, as if it's something someone's going to actually do in a match. And now that we have our recording, it's as simple as just running the simulation. So now when we press play, you see that he's going to jump, do what we told him to do, and now it gives us plenty of time to play around with it. So let's see, I'm a Ginyu main. Let's say I have no idea how to get past this. I'm kind of new to the game. Now let me see, what happens if I do LL? I'm hit. Okay, that's no good. What happens if I do LM? Oh, I'm still hit. That's no good. MM. Still hit. That's no good. Okay, my 2L recovers pretty fast. What if I do 2L, 2L? Okay, looks like that's safe. That's safe, and I can block. And if there's a situation where he doesn't reflect, that means I get my pressure, so I think we have a winner here. But let's say I'm not satisfied with that. What if we want to keep going? Let's see. What about what if I put an H in there? What if I do like a 5L, 5H. Oh, okay. Well, it seems like that will win outright. So there we go. I got another option now. So I can do 5L, 5H. What if I feel like I don't like how short that string is? Let's see. What about LMH? Oh, and it looks like we have a winner there. It looks like if I do LMH, it looks like it's winning every time. What if I wait a little bit? It's still working. What if I'm very early? Still working. So it looks like this might be the best option because it gives me plenty of time. By doing LM, I have plenty of time in my brain to go, oh, I'm being reflected. Let me press H. So now I know when this situation comes up, LMH will completely smoke them if they choose to do the 2M. And yes, it's just as simple as that. A nice and easy 3-step process. Step 1, find something that's giving you problems. Step 2, record it in training mode. 3, run the simulations till you find an answer that you're happy with. And now that you have the answer to this situation, the next time it comes up in a match, you're not going to be guessing. And in most instances, the situation is not even going to happen to you anymore because now you have multiple answers that you can fall back on. But now that we've covered how to record simple single slot options that are giving you trouble, let's move on to the more advanced uses of record command. This is by far the biggest benefit, which is the ability to simulate multiple situations at once. This is the one that is really, truly going to up your game. So once again, you got to pick a scenario or a group of scenarios that's giving you a lot of trouble. In this instance, let's say that Gogeta 4 has just been ruining your day lately. Let's say that every Gogeta 4 you fight, when they put you in his high-low mix-up, you are just continuously getting hit and you just can't seem to react to it. This is where record command comes in. Part of the reason why things like this hit you is because you're not used to the animation. Once you become more used to animations, things become easier to block. So there's 2 routes you can go about this. You can do 1,000 matches until you slowly get used to the animation over time, or you could just go to training mode and recreate the situation and get used to it there in an environment that you control. So let's go ahead and go over how to set this up. So once again, we're going to go to training dummy recording settings. And this time we are going to record 3 slots. Let's go ahead and turn all 3 slots on. That way they'll be available for playback. Let's go ahead and do them one by one. We'll start with slot 1. So for this, we are going to be practicing defense, so make sure the dummy is set to guard all. Let's go ahead and recreate the situation. We'll do a very simple string, just for practice sake. We're gonna do a very simple string of LLMM 6H. We just went ahead and recorded the overhead, so now we play that back. It's going to do the overhead for us. Plonk. So now that's recorded, let's move over to slot 2. And we are now going to record the low. Okay, so we got the low recorded. All right, nice. And to finish it off, let's go ahead and record the command grab, because that's the other popular option that people like to do there. Play it back to make sure we got it right. Looks good. Okay, so now that we've got all 3 of those recordings, all we have to do now is go to playback method random. So what this does is it's going to play the slots that we have turned on at complete random. So now when we press the playback button, one of the 3 options is going to happen. And so now that you have all 3 options ready to happen at random, you can basically test yourself to see if you can react. And just like that, you would keep running the simulation until you are satisfied. Of course, this is a very simple example. You have 8 slots here, so potentially you could record even more variations. You could record a Dragon Rush after the jab. You could record, basically anything. You record a 6M in there to mix things up. You can put up to 8 slots and you can put them all on random. So if you can sit in training mode and defend yourself against this and be comfortable, that feeling of being comfortable is going to transfer over into your matches, and that's why this is such a powerful tool to have at your disposal. Now that we've seen multiple ways of improving our defense with record command, let's take a look at some ways of improving our offense. One of the biggest aspects of DBFZ is staggers, and it can be hard to try to improve your staggers sometimes because a lot of people are unsure of when to press, and in a lot of situations it can be hard to tell because your opponent does have a lot of ways of trying to get out of your pressure. But once again, record command is your best friend because it can really help you get comfortable and find the best answer to these situations. So for this example, let's say that lately you've been having a lot of trouble getting your offense started. You feel like every time you get on top of somebody, they just mash and you end up losing your turn and you're frustrated by this. This is one of the easiest things to overcome with the help of record command. Record command is basically built specifically for this, and this is very, very easy to set up. So let's go ahead and break this down step by step. So to start with, we're going to go into enemy settings, make sure they're set to guard all. And we're going to go down to counterattack settings. Once again, turn on player recording. Time until counterattack, we're going to put that on 1 instead of 0 here, just because it makes it a little bit more realistic. A human being is not going to attack on the very first possible frame, even if they're mashing. So it's better to make it a little bit more accurate to set it to a frame delay of 1. And now we just have to record the different responses a player will usually do. So starting with slot number 1, the number 1 most common thing is of course the mash, so let's go ahead and just record, you know, light, light, light for the first one. For the second one, let's go ahead and do another very likely tactic, and that is to reflect. Notice I put a little step back in there after the reflect. That is so that if they reflect and I'm not fast on the timing, they'll block it. That way I know if I'm good enough to actually punish the reflect or not. And then for 3, let's actually tell them to block. And for that, we'll just hold down back. When the little timer hits 60, that's about good enough for that. And for the blocking, we want them to block more often than the other one. So once again, let's go ahead and put that at a 3. And then for the playback method, we're going to put it on random. So now that means anytime we put something on their block, they're going to do one of the things that we recorded randomly. So now it's just as simple as practicing your staggers and seeing if you can win. Let's see how we do. Okay, looking pretty airtight. So as you can see, you've probably heard me mention it probably 1,000 times now, but right there I was using the dash option select. So whether or not he did a mashed 5L, a reflect, or a block, I was in literally no risk. So I'm able to put my offense on him without worrying, is he going to mash or not? And this is basically the point that you want to get to with your character. And it doesn't have to be the Dash OS. I would highly, highly recommend it. Dash OS is your best friend, especially in stagger situations like this, because it helps even against DPs, level 3s, all that good stuff. This is just an example of how you should be able to get comfortable to where no matter what of the 3 options they choose, you are safe and you're not putting yourself in a situation where you are suddenly taking damage. Also, if you're unfamiliar with the dash block option selector, if this is your first time hearing about it, I will leave a link at the end of the video to my dash block guide. It is one of your best friends, again, when it comes to staggering your opponent. And of course, this isn't limited to just on block scenarios. You can also set this up for wake up scenarios too. Let's say that your opponents just keep getting off the ground and mashing and you want to get better at stopping that. So once again, should know where this is going by now. Slot 1, let's just record it. Just record an auto combo. So that'll be option number 1. Option number 2, let's make them block. Option number 3, make them reflect. So 3 pretty common wake up options. And this time we are going to set the enemy to don't guard. And we are going to, for this one, make sure counterattack is 0, just because it's wake up and usually reversals are going to come out pretty quick off the ground. You want your timing on this to be as quick as possible. So for this one, I would say it's okay to put it on 0. Just better safe than sorry for wake up stuff. And we're going to assume that our opponent is going to be back-teching, and just to make it difficult, let's put their delay stand on random. That means they're going to delay their wake up and then randomly do something. So let's take a look and see how we do. And once again, as you can see, practice makes perfect. All you gotta do is just keep running the simulation until you're happy with the outcome. And that is going to wrap up the ins and outs of using record command in DBFZ. As you can see, the record command is incredibly robust. It's something that I say a lot about DBFZ, is that I feel like it has, bar none, one of the best training modes in any fighting game out right now, just due to the fact of the overwhelming amount of options that you have available to you. A lot of games do not have this here specifically. Time until counterattack and counterattack conditions. Most games have record command, but not all games let you utilize it to this level. The record command in this game is so robust that there's hardly any situation you can encounter that you cannot recreate here. And that's why literally there's just no reason to not take advantage of this if you are trying to improve at all in this game, because the opportunity is there. It's just up to you to take it. And that's going to bring us to the end of the video. Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to leave a like if you learned something or if you enjoyed this at all. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next guide, match review, or set of online matches. And I will catch you fellas in the next one. Peace.